really check in honestly with where I'm at, everything shifts.
This is The Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
What's up, deep divers? Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Adam Roa, and today we're going to dive into the topic of the wounded inner child. This is something you may have heard of, the inner child, and even for myself, someone who's done inner child work and someone who speaks about the inner child and whatever. When I was down at the Envision festival recently, which was this yoga art music festival down in Costa Rica. It's a lot of fun. And the second year in a row that I've been, I ignored my inner child in a way and didn't realize that I was doing it. And so it can be something that is often overlooked, even for those of us who are aware of it. And so I wanted to point out my quote unquote like shortcoming in this way, something that I overlooked, so that hopefully you may have the awareness to not overlook it yourself in your own life. And so what that looked like for me was heading down to this Envision festival and being single for the first time really at a festival, and feeling like I wanted the experience of, let me interact with women in a way that I don't even know. Like I don't actually know what it is to go into these environments as a single man. And so I was excited to see what would come up from that. I'm a human behavior nerd. Like I love discovering new parts of myself. I love finding out new parts of other humans and understanding more of what makes people tick and that sort of stuff. So I knew there would be a lot of growth here. And for me, festivals are such big, like ceremonies from the very start to the very end. It's one giant ceremony. And after that, like Burning Man for me is always a giant ceremony. And so I was excited to see what came up. And I set the intention to just bring out more of the parts of myself that I want, the more playful, fun, sexy aspects of myself, because I want to call more of that into my life. The serious, get stuff done and mission driven, like that part of me is very developed. Like I don't have any problem being very productive, quote unquote, and I don't have any problem creating and getting stuff done. But doing it in a really playful, fun, sexy way, that's something that's more new and something I want to call in. So setting that intention, and then I let it go and just went off into the festival, and it was pretty remarkable what actually transpired. But right now, what's popping into my head before I continue is I want to let you know about the new online video course that I just launched. It's called It Starts With You, Self-Love Made Simple. And it is 15 videos with 15 exercises that you can do in like under 10 minutes, basically, for you to develop a deeper relationship with yourself. And that's what this topic really is about. The inner child and all of that is about. I wasn't listening to my inner child. I wasn't aware of what he was wanting or saying. I just overlooked it, and I'm going to get into why. But it's important to develop that relationship with ourselves, and it's a daily practice. So that's why I created this course. I polled all of my social media, asked what is the number one question you have about self-love, and then I created these videos specifically off of the most popular questions that you had. And so this course really is created for you. If you're interested in it, head over to adamroa.com, ADAMROA.com, and you can check it out. Now back to the story. I'm here at Envision Festival, right? And I'm feeling like I'm growing and advancing in ways that I've never experienced before, such as I went to a Zouk partner contact dance workshop, ecstatic dance sort of thing. It's like more like 2 hours long. And in this contact dance, this Zouk thing, it's very sexy and very much about dropping in with the person that you're dancing with and really feeling their rhythm and allowing your movements to become one. And it's really cool. And I've wanted to do it for a while. And I was a little bit hesitant because I didn't have a partner, and I'm like, oh, is this going to be a thing? But I showed up, and then basically you start this dance, and then every 6, 7, 8 minutes or whatever, you're switching partners. And so in this span of 2 hours, I got to dance with 8 different women. And I felt like I was just downloading all of these codes, like downloading all this information about each one of them, because they each had different energy, right? Like they were different archetypes of the feminine almost. And as someone who has been to many festivals, has danced with different people, but always while being in the container of a monogamous relationship, I noticed that I was much more open to actually allowing myself to be flirtatious and playful and sensual and sexy with these women that I was dancing with. Whereas before, I always had these like blocks up. You know, there's only so much of that aspect, that primal part of myself, that I would let out, because I felt as if being a good boyfriend meant that you didn't flirt, or you didn't exchange sexy energy with other women, right? And so this was a chance to do that. And because I was doing that, I got a chance to feel that energy from 8 different women in a very short period of time. Right. And that's one example of this. And then also the ability to, facilitate and perform at the Humans I Trust camp, and then see the attention that I would get afterwards from people, but women is what I'm talking about specifically. And so like, that's another example. And I was just navigating all of this new information. It was just new data points for me. And and then would go out onto the dance floor for an epic dance set, and for an hour and a half be there and dance and get the experience of, oh, let me see this, catch eyes with this person, and then go dance there and be like, okay, like I'm over that, and like moving on, and just, it was really amazing from a kind of human personal development nerd geeking out on all the things I was learning about myself. And there was a lot of parts of myself that I liked that I was seeing come out. And then there were parts of myself that felt uncomfortable or awkward, or like seeking, like that part of me that on a couple of different occasions felt like I was on a dance floor, like really looking for someone else, as opposed to just being in it and just enjoying the moment. And so these aspects I didn't like so much. And so I was just making these mental notes of, okay, like I'm growing in this area. I like this. I don't like this, because that's what it means to be the conscious creator, right? Of ourselves. We get to decide, who are we? What do we want? What are the parts of myself that I really like? What are the parts of myself that I'm not so crazy about? And how do I grow from there? I'm going to implement more of what I like into my life moving forward. And I'm going to slow or work through the parts of myself that I'm not so crazy about. And so I was really geeking out on this, and because of that, I get this energy behind it where I dive deep. It's what I do. And so I kept putting myself into more and more positions to learn like that. I kept saying, okay, like, let me go to the next dance set, or let me go to the next thing, and feeling myself wanting to consistently and constantly be in situations that I hadn't been in before. And many of them being like outside my comfort zone in a way. And then on I had a magical healing, actually. I was just feeling really worn down. I was feeling really beat up. My body was tight. And my friend Luke, shout out to Luke Cohen, and he asked me, he could just kind of tell, he's like, hey, would you like me to work on your neck a little bit? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And that turned into this crazy body work session on my back and my neck and my chest. And it was so powerful. And it kind of blasted me into this other realm. And I had this realization in that moment, because I like blasted into this other realm, and who was there was my inner child. Like young Adam was there to greet me, and he was scared. He was hesitant. He was feeling isolated. And I just had this wave wash over me, and I realized that I had been putting myself into situations outside my comfort zone intentionally all week long. I had been doing that because of the part of me that wanted to grow and learn and kind of get to this next stage of my development, where I don't feel any level of insecurity around being single, because there still is that. There is still this part of me that goes out, is aware that I am a charismatic, attractive individual, and at the same time has such little experience in this realm, and so feels a little bit fish out of water. And how I approached it was dive deep, go into it, be in the discomfort as often as possible. And I realized, and this was like day 6 out of 7 or something, I just realized that I had literally, in those 6 days, never once checked in with the insecure, scared little boy in me. Not one time did I take a 5-minute meditation to just check in on how are you doing, little Adam? Like, how are you doing? The you that has never been in this situation before, the you that has had a story that like sexual energy is not safe because of the sexual abuse that you experienced, because the you that is learning how to be with this. Like, I never once checked in. And the message was really clear, actually. The message was really clear of, it's not that anything I was doing was incredibly off-putting, like I wasn't having sex with anyone. It wasn't at that level or anything. It was literally just harmless, these interactions. And yet it's still, there was that part of me that wanted to slow down a little bit. And not necessarily to slow down from an action standpoint, but just to know that my little boy wanted to know that he wasn't being ignored, that there could be a dialogue of like, how are you feeling? Okay, you just need like an hour to just be? Great. Instead of, okay, well, that dance floor is done. Let me go to the next one. Okay, that's great. Let me go to this cuddle puddle. Like that part of me dominated. And the reason that it dominated was because if I'm honest with myself, I don't like being insecure about anything. I don't like feeling awkward or uncomfortable about any aspects that I feel like, quote, I shouldn't be. And that's the key there, is I had this idea of who I should be as a single man at this festival. I had an idea of how I should feel as a single man just in general. I have had this idea of all of the feelings that I've experienced that I don't want to, and feel like I shouldn't if I were more blank, more confident, more experienced, more XYZ. And I find now that if I can let go of that, if I can let go of the shoulds or shouldn'ts and just be present and really check in honestly with where I'm at, everything shifts. that is the relationship with myself that I truly desire to have, is the kind where I know and trust that I will not put myself in positions where I have parts of me that feel uncomfortable. I know and trust that I will be able to just listen more deeply, because that wounded little boy in me that was there throughout that experience, it was like he was being dragged along through this experience and never once asking, "How are you?" And so what I actually got to do after that was dedicate an entire evening to him. Like, release any need to exchange energy at all with any women, and really say, I'm taking my little wounded, I'm going to stop saying that. I took my little inner child, little Adam, out on like festival date. And I danced by myself, and I like envisioned, like I'm dancing with like the little version of me, and I'm like seeing him just boogieing on the dance floor. And then I would sit by myself and not need to talk to anybody, and just like feel into how good it felt to be with me. And you know when you sit with someone and you're talking to them and you can tell they're kind of like looking around, and you're like, do they really even want to sit here with me? Like, it feels as if they're looking for someone better or something else to do. I was doing that consistently with my inner child throughout the festival early on, and to be fully content being with me was a game changer. It was huge. And that is part of what I'm learning so deeply, which is that self-love is a result. Self-love is actually about, is the result of how your relationship is with you. If you have a healthy, loving, trusting relationship with yourself, your level of self-love is going to be much, much higher. Plain and simple. And so you don't have to think about, how do I love myself more? You develop a relationship with yourself. You develop more trust. You develop more love, more compassion with yourself, and your self-love increases. And that's why I created the online course. It starts with you, to give you actual exercises to do that. Exercises and videos on the topic of self-love to help you deepen your relationship with yourself. And so if you're interested in that course, please head over to adamroa.com and get it. It is 15 videos, 15 lessons. They're short, they're sweet, and they're effective. And as far as this podcast is concerned, what I invite you to do from this point forward is check in with yourself. Like, as soon as this is done, check in with yourself. How's your inner child feeling? How is your little boy or little girl deep inside of yourself feeling about how your life is going right now, the things that you're doing, the things that you're creating? When's the last time you've had a dialogue with him or her? And most importantly, what does he or she need right now? And can you develop the type of relationship where that little child in you knows that whatever it needs, you're going to provide? If it needs to slow down, if it wants to speed up, if it just wants some care, all of this is available to you because you're the one in charge. You're the one that gets to decide what that relationship looks like. You're the one that gets to show up fully for yourself. You get to do that. And as you do that, your relationship deepens, it gets stronger. And as that happens, you fall in love with yourself. And from there, everything you want, abundance, adventure, romance, all of that deepens as a result of your relationship with yourself and the amount that you love yourself. So thank you for doing that work. Thank you for listening to my musing of what I've been learning about myself on this journey. I want to remind you that always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved.